Co-op. Okay, welcome everyone to our August Open Council meeting, Kingston Food Co-op. Thank you for being here. Just to recap on the rundown of these meetings, this meeting is open to all co-op members in good standing. It's a working council meeting, so we are following a tight agenda. And we ask that comments and questions are saved into our open forum period at the end. I wish I could have that sound. At the end of the meeting. During open forum, time will be set aside for members to make comments. Due to time limitations, the amount of time each member can talk will be decided by me and might be confined depending on how much there is to talk about. Discussion on the issues raised by membership will only occur if time allows, but if a follow-up is needed, it will be on the agenda for the following meeting. And of course, you are also able to send any questions or comments to the council email, which is council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And lastly, at the end of the meeting, we hold an executive session, which is a closed session with just the elected council members. And it is used to discuss any sensitive items that could directly harm the success of our co-op or would infringe on the rights of privacy of a staff member or member owner. So that is a session that is closed and will happen at the end of this meeting. So to get started with our business, the first thing we have are co-op updates. So membership numbers, upcoming events, I believe will be reported on by our outreach coordinator, Siobhan.
Hey everyone, yes, our current membership, we are at 1,237 members, and out of that total, we have, just pulling up our solidarity members, we have 211 solidarity members. So we didn't get a ton of new solidarity members, but yeah, that's our current membership. And the latest events that we're planning are going to be in conjunction with our architects. So to do some build your co-op events, some design inspired events coming up, and that'll be in September, as well as a gathering we'll have in September with our members too, an in-person gathering. And I'll pass it back to you, Kendall.
Thanks. And I forgot to mention we are recording, so we also ask that everyone keeps their microphones muted and their cameras off, just to keep from distractions during the business, and then during question time, people will be able to speak and show themselves. So we will come back to the financial report when our treasurer gets here in a few minutes. It's hard also being the co-host because I'm seeing everybody pop up. So moving on for now to our council committee updates. And we're just going to share these verbally, right?
Yep, I can start with governance. So in terms of governance work since the last report, what we've done is complete a number of administrative processes just to help aid the continuity of work from council to council. So when there's turnover or we're passing along, that we're equipped for that. We've also been working on a very thorough revision of the bylaws. And so those bylaws, when they're done being revised, they have to be approved by the council and then be voted on to be approved by all members. And we're in the process of that. We have also finalized a new council stipend package, as well as an accountability system for participation in that. And we've also been working on updating our decision-making processes and now implementing those. And so we're in the process of onboarding, basically implementing that and seeing how that goes. In terms of the next reporting period, One big part of it is presenting on the proposed bylaws changes. So once we wrap that up, really making sure we're explaining what has been changed, what is relevant to that, to understanding those changes. We also want to work on our policy register revision, and then start gathering information, what needs to be covered in the member owner handbook. So we have a running document already where we're kind of popping things whenever it comes up as something that needs to be addressed in the member owner handbook, but we'll start to really pull that all together. And in terms of committee expenses for this period, governance covers stipends, and so there were council stipends of $3,634. And then there was also a goodbye dinner for Katie, our long-term project manager, which was $788. And those are the main pieces for governance. So I can pass it over back to you, Kendall, if you want to give the community integration report.
Okay. In terms of community integration. Oh, okay, we can do that as well. Okay, so over this past month, we have been making edits to the member ambassador project plan, which we have done once before and are hoping to relaunch in a slightly different way, new and improved. Our outreach coordinator has drafted a member ambassador handbook to be used when we do commence our member ambassador program, which we plan to be doing by the end of this month. We met with Mass, which are our architects, to begin planning pre-design engagement events with the community. So our first event will be in September at some point. We haven't picked a date yet, but that is one of our priorities for this next period. And we also began the process of searching for marketing specialists to do a, not necessarily rebrand, but initial branding package prior to our building and everything.
Right,
So
right.
Our
Yeah, that's
goals,
a little bit while ago, you come into the food pantry and are we encouraged?
our goals for this next period are to launch a member ambassador program and to have around 8 member ambassadors, although that number can change depending on how many people are interested, and to gather some missing information to complete our market study, which we are just hoping to fill in some gaps, reach out to different community members that weren't as represented as we wanted in the previous survey for the market study, to make sure that when we go into this pre-design phase that we really have the voices of everyone in the community and not just a small amount of people. And we're going to finalize and plan this pre-design community event with Mass, and then also begin this branding process, hopefully find someone, a company or a person to take that over and guide that. And I don't believe we had any expenses and nothing for council approval. So next we can do business development.
Oh yeah, that's me. So in development and programming meetings, since the last time we talked about this, it was called business development, but we changed it to development and programming so that we put the scope way more on how do we develop and an emphasis on our social programming. To catch folks up to speed from the last month also, so the initial sort of plan that was developed for the co-op didn't have enough marginalized voices nor social programming, so we revamped it to be a social enterprise program. And part of that means we have to revamp our efforts on the market study that Kendall just spoke to, and we're revamping our business plan, revamping our pro forma, and now revamping our partnerships to include partnerships that weren't there before. So in the last meeting, we shared a portfolio of all of our partners. I'm happy to report this meeting. I've been meeting with those partners to better understand sort of like what programming that we can house inside of the co-op that will partner affordable groceries. And yeah, there's just been really great conversations. I'm happy to have like, them with anyone. Feel free to jump in with me. But it's just started. I have a lot more conversations to be had. And I reorganized Monday, which is our productivity tool for everyone, that allows everyone to sort of like follow the conversations that I'm having. The goals and projects for the next reporting period is finalize a partnership portfolio. So like after all of these conversations with all of these people in the community, organizations, folks on the grounds, grassroots efforts, all of these things, figure out, okay, well, what partnerships, what are the future partnerships? How does that fit into a portfolio? 2, find funding streams for it, because as you all know, a lot of efforts require funding. So what are the funding streams that we can do it so that we can include that into our pro forma? And then, which goes to the last point, begin incorporating the market study that community integration is revamping and all of the programs that I'm finding out right now into our pro forma, so that we have the basis, the gut, the core of our business plan. And so that's development and programming.
Cool. Yeah. So store leadership, there's been a lot happening here. We have a full committee, which involves a number of co-op members, in addition to a couple of council members. We've done a lot of outreach, but that's landed in 4 informational interviews with co-ops, people who have experience with shared leadership. We've also had 2 committee members attend the Zingerman Servant Leadership Workshop, and they'll be doing a report back in our next meeting. We've scheduled the 3-part series on shared leadership It's a workshop series with Co-op Hudson Valley and Good Work Institute, and the full committee, as well as most of our committee members, attended the first session. So coming up, we have the next 2 sessions of the workshop. Those are this week, so big week for co-op meetings. And then until next Friday, we're continuing informational interviews, outreach, trying to do the information gathering. And then we'll have a period between August 20th to September 7th, where we're working on synthesizing those learnings and writing them up. And then on September 7th, that's when we'll submit written summary of research and recommendations to the council. And then at the following council next open monthly meeting, that's when we'll be presenting to the council on, what we've learned, what's come up, any recommendations, and yeah, take any questions and have discussion between the council and the committee. In terms of expenses, we paid for one of our members to attend the servant leadership workshop. And the other one was able to have that expense covered out of their work budget. And we will be paying for the shared leadership workshops, but we haven't done that yet. So that hasn't taken place on this period.
Okay, so for the Capitol Building Project Committee, and that is working with the architects and designers and to create our actual brick and mortar storefront. This past month has been pretty busy because we launched the design process, the pre-design process, and after we had a couple workshops where we presented to Mass about what our sort of hopes and dreams were for what the building would contain, and then they went back and sort of synthesized that information, and then they came back and presented to us what they heard, and also led us through a couple sort of mission-driven brainstorming sessions in terms of what is the mission of the building outside of the mission of the co-op itself. And then last week they test fit our programming, both grocery programming and the what Kivas was just talking about in business development about, these programs that we want to implement to make sure that groceries actually are affordable, because as everyone knows right now, we've got crazy inflation, like the grocery margins are very small. The term affordable groceries is like, what does that even mean? So they put a lot of these programming ideas that we have into the building to see what would fit, and they gave us 3 scenarios. These are not design scenarios. These are literally just like what will fit in this footprint scenario, small, medium, and large, to sort of see So we have this idea of going forward, what do we need to do to the envelope of the building in order to make this project work? We also, in that process, worked with Firebrand Consulting and Retail Planet to understand what the needs of a retail grocery store. You know, these are things that we don't know in terms of fittings and layout, and you know, sort of like best practices in the grocery world to make the actual flow of work more economical. So they've been really, really helpful on that. Both for us on the council, but also for our architects. You know, this is the first time they're building a grocery store as well. So having this expertise has been, and having them this early in the process has been so valuable. And well, Kendall reported on the CIC meeting with Mass to sort of get that community input design process off the ground. I'm sorry, I have to go to my other screen because there's just so much to report on. It doesn't all fit on that screen. So I really apologize that you can't see it all. We're also having ongoing conversations with KMR and the Bubble about the shared use of the parking lot. This is in terms of the big picture of the parking lot. Two buildings need to share one parking lot. So you know, there's all these zoning rules with how many parking spots you have to have in order to get a certificate of occupancy. And then, you know, we have all these dreams of you know, playgrounds and compost gardens and, you know, all these different things. And how do we fit them all in while still making sure we have room for parking? So that, again, the business plan aspect of the grocery store will work. So those have been really fun sort of dreaming conversations. That's what's happened this past month. Going forward, we're going to be working with Baxter Construction. They've been on the ground with us and Mass to look at how to help us estimate how much per square foot these different, you know, small, medium, and large scenario designs would cost. Where besides the dreaming ideas of the parking lot, there's also sort of the legal side of parking lot usage in terms of making sure that we have deeded rights to these parking spots in perpetuity. So we have a great non-contentious lawyer who's working with us on all the property stuff to just put a legal framework in place for that. And that's coming in the next month. And we're really looking forward to, you know, to this project with the architects and with the community integration committee on figuring out like what this large community of Kingston needs within the design of the building and how that will work best for everybody involved in the project. And the sort of last thing that we have to sort of kick off in the upcoming month or two maybe is a building transfer. We don't own this property. It's still a Novo owned property, but we will have to transfer that ownership to us before we start construction. So there are a lot of implications for what that means for us as a co-op. In terms of liability, timeline, all of that. And I think Kivius is going to walk us through some of those implications. Kivius, are you ready to do that now?
Oh yeah, they're very broad right now as far as like the implications, but I think you actually hit them on the nail. So we have to transfer the building over to Novo and understand not only sort of like liability that carries, but the financial impact that carries to cover such liabilities. As everyone knows, we're also just community members. None of us are like, you know, uber wealthy. And if anything happens in this building, around this building, to this building, we assume the liability. So that's just sort of like a broad thing that we're trying to work through to figure out this month. But we do know one big thing is the security of the building itself. Right now, there's asbestos, there's mold, there's lead, and we want to make sure people are healthy when they go into that building, and that the wind that is drafting to the folks on the outside, they're not impacted by that. And then there's the whole financial piece, the property taxes, to all of that stuff. So and the sort of like regular checking and maintenance of the building to make sure everything is in good working order. And yeah, so it's just a lot of a liability that we assume, and it opens up a whole other room of financial needs. And it opens up a whole other room of things, you know, as our tiny little council has to keep our eye on. So I'm working right now to see sort of like what all the implications of that transfer will be. And I'll be sure to report it back to the group before we figure out sort of like the timeline of that. But the biggest implications right now are the liabilities and finances. And yeah, learning more.
So that is it, and that is a decision that the council will have to make about moving forward. Oh, sorry, can you just move it back one, Sonia? Thanks. I just need to report on the money.
And
that
a
we-
quick thing, hi everyone, just on the goals and reports, there's text that's cut off in the bottom. Maybe it's just me, but can we?
Yeah. No, it's,
adjust that?
I went through it verbally. It's just there was so much it wouldn't fit on, and I didn't realize it was not gonna show up on the screen, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. We'll restructure. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, before we can move ahead with the building transfer, we have to have full council approval to do that. So, you know, we're Kivis is just like laying in some things that we need to watch out for, and you know, we'll continue to go in this more in depth in our next couple of meetings to, you know, figure it all out. Really, it's quite a bit. And then on expenditures, we had 3,970 going out this month in consulting contracts with Firebrand and Retail Planet. But additionally, we had 7,425 out of a different line budget. It's out of a different budget, but it was really for our construction manager consultant. So I'll update that, but yeah, so it's actually more like 11,000 for this project this month. Okay, I am done. Thank you.
Okay, oh yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Ali, our treasurer for finance.
Yeah, hi, excuse that I was late. But so you could see on the screen the big things things we're working on for the month. The highlight that I want to point out is that there's been a transition, as we mentioned with Katie and on a relationship with GWI. There's been a good continuation of that relationship as per the last grant request. So there was different things, just new people working together. Hey, how do you like this? What's the format? Things like that. So that was a good thing to be to engage with and just have with the GWI people. So that was good. And things for next month that I would say of all the bullet points here are, let's see. Yeah, I think it's more like the continuation of the finance work, right? The work that's been done in the past with this new council and the level of detail that we want to do, right, in diligence. It's continuing that it's not just held within finance, but overall in the whole council work as a whole. I would say that's like a big highlight of that. Yeah, and just fellow council members or just everyone to know, the thing here is this is the last month of the QuickBooks training that we all have access to. So please take a look at that, so that September we can talk about how it went. And yeah, here to answer any questions about anything. Updated balances are there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Ali. And we're going to circle back to governance to go over some new policies.
Well, we're gonna start with the process for contracts. So Sonia, do you want to give an intro to that? Is Sonia here? Oh, cool. Sonia, you're back on mute. I saw you unmute for a moment. I don't know if you're.
Hi, everyone. Yep. Sorry. So in terms of contracts, we've created and established a new process to review, accept contracts within the co-op. And I can share just a little bit about what that looks like.
Kendall, you're still sharing screen. I don't know if you want to pass the permissions to Sonia.
I actually have permission. I just
Oh,
want
sorry.
to stop it for a second and pull it up. So one of the things we wanted to do to ensure to have a contract approval process so that, you know, it could be fair across the board is to ensure that if a contractor doesn't have any type of contract for engagement, that we had some kind of template so that, you know, new contractors are able to feel more comfortable. Sometimes we're working with just freelancers, et cetera. So we have a contract here that we've provided that is kind of just a standard contract. It has the most basic clauses that someone can use in order to begin engagement with a contractor. In addition, if they already have a contract, you know, we'll be able to review those contracts, and our governance committee is in charge of reviewing those and looking at them. So once governance committee is looking at these, they will look at the contract for specific portions of the contract. So, or look at specific aspects of the contract to ensure that there are items that are relevant to the organization. So for example, just making sure that we have something in terms of a statement of the relationship, what the scope of work looks like, you know, any timelines, deadlines, payment, billing. So just the most important parts of having a contract. And then once that's completed, governance then looks at and signs the contract and passes back the relationship with the original individual. So that's kind of the newest contract process that we have to ensure that we, you know, have a streamlined approval process, and then ensuring that, you know, each contract gets that standard look that we all need.
I see Ollie has his hand up about the contract process. Sonia, can you take questions?
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I only see like a portion of this here.
It's all good. So this is not the first time we talk about the contracts. We've talked about this before and had as a council different like feedback or notes about it. What of this that's presented now, what is different from that version, if any at all? And you know, not asking for any changes, but just saying what has been changed or what has been adopted since then.
Oh, there aren't any changes based on from initially what I showed you. This is pretty much the same contract that we had discussed. The only thing I think that changed was the placement and storage of the contract within the drive and where that is. But other than that, this is exactly the process that I had mentioned to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that also, Ali, like we had originally there was both a checklist and the idea of having a checklist for reviewing someone else's contract as well as our own draft contract. And this one basically makes it flexible enough that, you know, if a contractor has their own contract, that we don't have to make them fit within our contract. But if they don't, we have one ready to go. So there's no, basically, like we were talking about how to not create any burdens for the contractor. So they were able to just roll with it regardless of whether they came in with their own preset contract or not. So
Yeah, I got that. And that I mentioned a comment about that. While I don't fully disagree with that in the past, but the whole point of this, like, why are we reviewing this again? If we talked about this, was sort of the framing of the question. Yeah, but is it why are we reviewing this again?
now that the process has been fully formalized, basically like running through it, getting final approval for these various ones, because there's been back and forth, I think, on all of these processes.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next one if there's no further comments on that. Yeah. I think the next one is about like how we're handling our Zoom links, which obviously tonight was, we haven't quite nailed it yet.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
the-
okay.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't have anything. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. So in terms of the Zoom links, which we have not nailed yet, there's two different Zoom links, and one Zoom link is specifically for council one-to-one meetings, any kind of one-to-one meetings that we have, and across the co-op. And then the secondary link is our kind of open council, open meetings, any committee meetings we have. So in terms of usage, that's what those two are going to be focused on moving forward. Previously, the issue is that a lot of these links were unique. So if you ever tried to use them again, you couldn't be able to because the meeting link would not work. So that's kind of what happened today, which is we had a meeting link that was a unique link for a specific meeting, which is this one. And so as opposed to a general link.
Are these changes, do they require any additional costs to our plan or anything?
They do not. We already have two accounts, two pro accounts that we use. So there's no additional cost. It's mainly the usage that is changing.
Okay, so we've been having a little trouble with this, so I think that we need to, you know, some links are going out that are wrong, and we're having trouble logging onto our own meetings today. Today, both Kendall and I had trouble logging into our own meetings, so I don't know if there's a way we can look at fixing this going forward. Anything?
It seems it's just as a confusion in this transition. I think just making sure that things are done properly, right? It's just like a mechanical thing, not so much of a structural stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one part might just be clearing all the calendar invites of the links and like adding them again. You know, like I feel like there's a bunch of old links, inactive links living on and not being replaced. So I mean, if we need to, it might just be necessary to just like cleanse, create new links, repopulate everything to make sure there's no more confusion, especially with open meetings. Okay, should we move on? Let's talk about the process of utilizing the council education budget. Lindsay, can you lead this one?
Sure. We have a line item for council education. There's a lot of data out there that supports the more educated the council is, the more success the project has, which is very true, because no one has ever started a co-op before you start a co-op, pretty much. So we have a good council education budget, and the process for utilizing it is, hold on, let me pull it up. If it's within your committee, you know, just it's got to be signed off by the committee chair if it's something that's particular to that. And if that committee has an education budget, because certain committees have allocated some of their funds to education, then it comes out of that line item budget. If it's coming out of the council budget, then it has to be approved by the council. So you have to like bring it to council and be like, here's this training I want to do. It's really important that everyone have access to it. So if it's something that is for council, you know, make sure that the invitation goes out to everybody. We have, you know, we have a couple grand in the line right now, and we're at the beginning of our grant cycle, I think. So some of that we'll need to earmark for you know, the strategic planning portion of our work this year, and then some of it I'm hoping we can do a little like policy governance training. But other than that, you know, seek out trainings that you think will benefit our working as a board and bring it to everybody, so we can decide if we want to do it. If only one person or a few people go to a training, We have a drive folder called training recaps. So you can type up your notes at the end of the training and they can live there so that everyone benefits from the training, even if everyone wasn't able to attend. And then right now that we're using Slack, put it in the peer calls and co-op development, say, hey, I went to this training. Here's the link to the recap. I think as we phase out Slack, obviously that will change, but that's where it's at right now. So trainings need approval from either your chair or the council, depending what budget line they're coming out of. Make sure you invite the rest of the council to the training, give that option, write up your notes, share the knowledge out, put it in the proper folder. Any question? Okay, let's move on.
Okay, is that everything for processes? Those new processes?
We have submitting for like an invoice. If you have an invoice from your committee that needs to be paid, I think we went over that, but I wasn't sure if it was finished. So I left it on the agenda in case it hadn't been completed. Is anyone unclear with that process and needs a refresher?
No.
Okay.
I will at one point, there's changes to it, but I don't think today would be the best time for it. So happy to talk about it some other day.
Yes, very good. Good choice.
Oh.
Go for it.
Is there more, Nina?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So moving to new business, and then it will be open forum after that. So new business, we are going to review Sonia's rubric for branding / marketing firms. So Sonia, is that something you can share with us now?
Yes, hold on one second.
And while we start that, so just to be all on the same page, meetings usually until 7, but because of the agenda items and things that we have to get to, how much time do you want to allocate to this, or decide on expanding, going over to 7:15?
So meetings are until 7:30 on the calendar, 6 to 7:30. So
Got it wrong.
we
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, Ali, you're not wrong, because usually it's like 6 to 7, and then it's closed forum at the end. But I think we're just going to move into the closed forum space just to make sure we have time for open forum, since we've had a pretty full agenda today. So, like, I feel like that's what we usually do.
So the rubric that we have for contractor hiring is still in progress, but part of what we're looking to do is to guide the process that we use to hire contractors and ensure they line up with the mission and values of the Kingston Food Co-op. So ensuring that, we have followed those core key values of a co-op, as well as those that are principles. So making and ensuring that there's, local businesses that are always in the running, that they're mission aligned, what their previous experience looks like, and ensuring that they have all the necessary skill set to complete what we're looking to do. So that's pretty much what we're looking for in terms of the rubric. And we're just creating something so that it's a little bit more detailed to help guide our process of hiring.
Is there a document that you can share about these, or is this just like a top level idea, verbal idea?
I'm so sorry. What was that, Ali?
Do you have a document that we can refer to, or you're just sharing verbally the idea or the concept?
I have a document, but I was hoping to just add in a couple more questions to help guide the interview process itself. So I was holding on to it for now, but I can definitely send it out at a later time.
Okay, so just to make sure, is there anything else that we need to address in terms of council business? And if not, then we can move into open forum.
Hold on one second. On the last one, Sonia, did you there was a deadline, something about the marketing firms. Did we talk about that? I know I missed the early part of the meeting, but about the branding and putting a market people into a document for you to review. Did we do that? Or is that not? That's something for later.
Right, so this contract hiring rubric was part of that process to ensure that the marketing and branding specialist aligns with our values, you know, that they're a local business. And so it guides our process to hire these new contractors for the phase of marketing and branding for the Kingston Food Co-op.
Yeah, but there was you put a deadline on for a date. You put a date to when we had to put potential people in there for you to review, right? Or did I get that wrong?
Oh, you're talking about a list of individuals that you'd like in the running. Okay, so that's different than the actual hiring rubric.
Mhm,
So
okay.
yes, that was set for last week on Friday.
Okay. And I would just like to share with everyone, if you might not know, that these meetings are recorded and put on the website. So if in the future or at any point you are unable to make these meetings, you can always go watch them on your own time. Also, you can always send any comments or questions or concerns to the council email, which is council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And lastly, if you're unable to make a meeting but want there to be or want to make a comment on the record, you can send it to the council email by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. So that would have been 3 p.m. today, and we would read it during this recording so that your comment would be shared during the meeting, even if you're not present. So, yep, Siobhan put the email in the chat, and we can now move into open forum. So just remembering that maybe not everyone will get a chance to speak, but let's be respectful of time. And you can raise hands if you want to talk out loud or make comments in the chat.
Is it open right now?
Yes.
Okay. Sensitive topic. And I'm putting a few things for the food co-op Instagram that I received yesterday. I don't know how long it's been out, possibly today.
Are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted. The food co-op Instagram, in quotes, we will continue to center marginalized voices and be open to hearing feedback from all members of the community. We are invested in incorporating this feedback into architectural design of the space. We began developing relationships with folks who spend time around this space. Now, this is me. By developing relationships, you mean telling people about the upcoming destruction, which is taking down the tents and inevitably displacing folks who live here. This concerns me and others. Some call this home and use the tent to stay dry. This uncertainty makes us insecure about where we will go during and after construction. Our voices seems to be falling on deaf ears. We will need a secure area to exist. There's a building back here, that white one right there. That Jordan tells me will be demolished.
Jordan from Kingston.
Which Jordan from Kingston Midtown Rising, which is insulting because a few of us back here sleep outside, not 10 feet away. And during the construction, they're going to be tearing down our tent and having trucks drive through. If you really are centering margins voices and invested in incorporating architectural design, invite us to have this space. This space meaning the white building. It has rain cover and is protected from the elements and 4 walls to provide privacy. Besides, the People's Cauldron writing down what we are saying we need, there hasn't been anyone else asking. Just people come back here telling us what's going to be happening with the construction.
No, I was going to say,
I just heard about an open invitation to meetings about this. Why should we have to go out of our way for this? Do we not have the right to choose where we are in a shared space? The upcoming demolition tells me no. I've been shown by Jordan, Midtown, Kingston Midtown Rising, a suggestion paper on the bubble lot faced inside the building. So that means I would have to go through the laundromat where workers call the cops on us, harass us, and just flat out tell us they don't want us around, over the children's area and write down, please don't tear down my home, as a fucking suggestion. That does not make me feel like I matter or make me feel secure. So what's the co-op going to do about this?
Yeah, so I want to make sure. Hi, Chris, I'm Kevius. Nice to see you. And I want to make sure I address the 4 points that I hear. So give me a second. I think I will address them in reverse as recently as I got them. So the first point that I got was center the voices of marginalized individuals in our community. Sort of like, how do we plan on doing that, right? And then I hear, how do we plan on doing that as input into our architectural work? And then I hear the angle about what are we doing to develop our relationships, like what do we have done, what do we plan to do? And then I hear 4 about the open invitations, or whether or not you all have invites and sort of like how we can get that invitation going. Did I capture your points right?
No. My points?
No, I was asking, did I capture your points of concern? Or
my point of concern is, where are people that have been back here? First of all, let me tell you my credentials. I've been homeless for 25 years, maybe 26 years. I've been an addict for 20-something years. I've been in and out of Kingston for the last 2 decades. And this spot has been here for a long fucking time. So my concern is, and what I'm trying to address is, where are we supposed to go when the demolition starts happening? What security do I have? Do all these people have back here?
okay.
Just say it. Just say it. Say it.
What?
Let him say it.
Nah, we shouldn't have to go nowhere.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay.
Ask Uncle B if he wants to talk.
Does anybody want to talk to the Kingston Food Co-op right now? Does anybody want to get on the meeting? Does anybody want to get on the meeting?
Crickets.
Oh, I didn't know if you all were done. So one,
I'm just trying to know if anybody else wants to speak. Anyone that lives back here and stays back here.
It's basically the whole book. Like, it's a pretty simple thing. It's like not about making bullet points out of it. Like, folks are back here. It's a shared space. There's buildings. It's a co-op. What the fuck is going to be going on about it, instead of just like people have already been told they got to go when construction happens. Well,
we've been established back here for a long time. Why would you tear down
the building?
Like, that's my point. Can I introduce you? Yeah. It's my friend Lucky. He wants to say a few things.
My name is Patrick Carlos. I've been homeless for quite a while. I came here like 3-4 weeks ago. I've met people that are just love. Nobody hurts anybody. Everything's fine. And we need to get some kind of civil lawyer, somebody to say, speak up for people.
Security.
There's nothing else. There's nothing. What are you going to do? You're going to find people just around. People need help. People need help.
They need space.
That's all I can say. A little space. There's not a lot of trouble. There's not a lot of bullshit. These people love each other. These people are family. There's not that much stuff. Come yourself and look. Yes, there's some. Man, I'm from Brooklyn. There's some. I'm not sure.
Looks like there's internet connections issues.
And
I think that,
Here we go.
They turn it off. I don't think so.
Chris, so we lost a bit of Patrick. You cut off for a little bit. We have you back. Yeah, if there's anything that we missed that you want to share again?
He just went and sat down, but he was just saying he's been here for 4 weeks. He's from the city, but he found family here and he sleeps back here. And he just, him and everybody else just wants a little spot and feel a little security, have a little security. I mean, he was there speaking with Jordan with me yesterday, and his attitude and his his concerns are valid. He just kind of threw up his hands and went, well, we're gonna get pushed out of here anyway. And that's how we all feel, and we shouldn't feel that way. We should have some security.
hey, Chris, can you hear
Yeah.
me? Do you mind if I address the points? Okay, so I just want to be clear. One, I appreciate the openness, the honesty, the transparency that you all are having, the willingness to share your life story, where you are right now, what you need with folks in this community. That has a huge sign of trust attached to it, and I truly appreciate that. With respect to the building, one thing that we hold and one thing that we continue to hold, that there is nothing that's going to happen to that building without the voices of our community, and us doing that by centering the margins of our community. We have just begun those conversations, and we have many, 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 many more conversations to have. The last time I was back there and I met some folks who were back there, they said, hey, the only thing that we need is a structure. We need something to protect us in the rain and a really great community. And the thing that I said to them was, we hope that the programs that we add in the co-op help complement that atmosphere and keep you all healthy and engaged and part of this community, right? Because you're just as worthy of being a part of this community as folks with homes, right? And on a personal level, as someone who experienced homelessness, I completely understand where you're coming from. I vibe with everything that you're saying, and I get you down to the T. We stand tested to, hey, we want to bring services to that community that enhances your lived experience. And we've just begun listening to what you want. I took it deeply noted. There are many more conversations to have, and I'm very happy that you're open to having those conversations. I've invited you all to conversations. I've asked when y'all like to meet. I'm happy to come to you all. I'm happy to get to the bottom of it in whatever way we can.
Okay, but the hope of possibly having a structure after the construction still doesn't make anyone feel secure. So commit to giving us the building and meeting the demands. We've been talking. I'm also part of the coalition. We have a list of demands that are very simple: speed bumps, porta potties, like the basic shit, and a structure. And from what I know, from what Jordan told me, the tent is going to get torn down, and the building is going to get demolished.
Well, so again, we can't speak to what we will and won't do because it takes the greater community to say what they would also like to see out of the space, and then we have to weighing the marginalized voices more, of course. So we can't say what will and won't happen. The only thing that I can encourage is let's have a conversation, let's brainstorm together, let's figure it out, and feel free to join our efforts. We could help efforts that you spark in the community too to get feedback. But we're not shutting off anyone's dreams. We're just hearing from everyone in the greater community, because there are folks who voted on this building, folks who bought this building to have a co-op, and we just want to make sure that everyone, even the folks who are looking for a co-op to be there, gets what they want out of the building. And so we're just waiting to hear back from the wider community in order to make that happen. But again, I'm so happy, I'm so down to have a conversation with you all and keep this going. I'm sorry, Kim.
But the wider community isn't this community. This is their home. I don't know. I must be missing something. Again, it's falling on deaf ears. The community, the people that live here, I'm not going to your house telling you I'm going to rearrange this and move that, demolish this, demolish that. I'm not doing that to your house. That'll make you probably feel a little insecure and worried and scared, I'd imagine. Well, that's how we're all feeling.
Well, we're not saying we're doing that. We're saying there's something that's going to happen there, and we would love to have conversations where you bring your vision and voice to the table, and we all together create it. We're not saying what's going to happen there because you have to have a say in that. And not only you all, but everyone in the Kingston community.
So
But
everybody,
Keegan is
hang on,
saying
hang on.
everybody in the Kingston
So-
community doesn't get to decide what happens to a place where specific people live.
Why is
People
everybody
here
else?
are not to anybody else's house and saying that they have an input on where you live. Do you see the difference?
Why are people that don't live here voices
make an
louder
opinion.
than the people that live here?
Chris,
That makes no sense.
No sense.
We don't care who owns the property. We don't care who bought the building. We're talking about the folks that rely on this space. Nobody is going to any of the co-op council members' homes and deciding that they get a say on what goes on in your space.
And we're saying that we want to figure out a way that ensures you get what you need out of the space.
We are
in a
telling
that
you the
can
way. We are telling you the way.
Yeah,
We
but-
are telling you the way
Can
right
I-
now, and you're
yeah.
telling us, oh, we'll talk about it more.
We don't want to talk about it.
We're telling
Chris,
you what it
We're not
is.
moving
Chris,
from our home.
can I ask you a question? This is Frank. I'm the vice president of Kingston Midtown Rising. I want to ask
can
you a
get signed.
question. Say that again.
We can do.
Can I ask you a question? The question
Yeah.
is, are you all out there, the individuals, are you all out there representing yourselves individually, or are you part of the people
Yo, let me say for a minute, man.
as an organization?
Let Uncle B see it. Let Uncle B see the phone.
Hang on.
Excuse me.
There you go, brother.
Excuse me, how you
Man,
doing,
make
though,
time.
right?
All
But
right.
I'm one of the ones that's out there, and what we are doing is like fighting to keep our little private spot. If y'all want us up on Broadway, then they'll be up on Broadway. You understand? All we doing is fighting for us to have a little leniency or whatever, though, right? It ain't on Broadway. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand. But what I'm asking you are
Yeah.
you all part of the People's Cauldron as an organization, or are you all individuals trying to find,
hang on.
No.
trying to take care of
Yeah,
yourselves
right.
individually?
Fucking conglomerate.
Are you
Yo,
part of the, are you,
question is,
listen,
Separate
listen.
us.
First of all,
Are you part of the organization,
Yeah.
or are you representing yourself?
We're gonna come together.
I'm representing myself
Okay.
as a person who
Okay.
has been homeless on these streets before.
Yeah,
Okay.
he says that right now everybody's an individual, but if you push them hard enough, we'll all be part of the same organization.
So wait, are you trying to get us in some Rico shit? Like,
I'm just
We
asking
are
a
all-
question because what we're hearing is that this People's Cauldron is supposed to be helping you guys. So I'm trying to find out if they're helping you, and if they are helping you, how are they helping you? Or if they're not
we're all
helping.
one. We're all one. Do you get? There's a singularity.
Thank you.
This is like one body out here.
Is the
So,
people is the group helping you? That's the question.
Frank,
Of course
We're
they
all
are.
the group. We're all the same group.
Okay, and what are they doing to help you?
Plant medicine.
Oh,
Same man.
why don't y'all come out here and see what they do when they come out here every Sunday? Because nobody else in this community come out here and offer these people food. They don't do
Okay.
none of that. They lock their doors. They look at them crazy. You get what I'm saying? And they do nothing but give the next generation something to divide themselves amongst,
Right.
which is their own kind, bro. It's mothers out here, it's brothers out here, it's uncles out here, it's sons out here.
Right.
Come on, bro.
I totally get it. So
And everybody,
So
Go
my
ahead, bro.
point of asking is, if the People's Cauldron, right, is helping you, then what we need to do is have a civil conversation and communication with the group, if that's all of you, and let's see how we can assist even further, right? Because we're a nonprofit organization.
so here's my,
Let me finish. We are a
Alright.
nonprofit
I comprehend that,
organization,
understand that.
right? We all have a mission for what we came into this service to do. And what you guys are asking
that.
is not necessarily, right, the service that we're here to do, but we do understand the situation and we do want to help you. But
I
if you have
understand.
a group right there that is
Thank you.
doing this work, who has the expertise in this field, right, just like Samadhi and other groups, then let us try to work with you and those groups and see how we can help you. But you gotta, you know what I'm saying? But we need to be able to know what's happening what else do you need and what the group is doing that you currently have. But you can't, I just want you to be clear, and everybody here does not want to see y'all in the street. We don't want to see you not having nowhere to sleep. We don't want to see you starving. I'm from the South Bronx. I lived in the projects. I lived in the streets. I've done the park. You know what I'm saying? People have been through issues, but at the same time, we all trying to come up and get you guys in another situation. We don't want to say, hey, get out, you gotta go. But we also don't want you to think that we forgetting about you. We want to get you out of that situation. We trying to come up with something temporary where maybe we can help you for a while, but the goal is to get you out of there. The goal is to not keep you there like this is your new home. That can't be the goal, because if we're trying to do things like, listen, if we're trying to create opportunities for a community and for children and for people to have a better life, how are we going to do that if you guys don't have a place to live? So we all got to work on this together. So you got to help us help you. So we appreciate you coming and talking and sharing, but we got to sit down and come up with a reasonable situation on how we can help you temporarily.
We told you what our demands are. That's it. This is fucking
out of
fine.
that situation in the first place. You can't, y'all cannot keep your mindset as if this is your home and you're going to stay behind these buildings. That's unsafe for you, right? It's unhealthy for you. And it can't be the best way of life. That's not what you're here for.
Okay, this is not about trying to convince people to stop doing drugs.
Everybody is here to live the best life possible. And if you guys are not living that, then let us help you try to find a path to be able to do that. That's the point of this here. That's the point.
Can you cut him off? Can you just be like, listen, it's not.
Go ahead. You can speak.
What do you want? I can't even like.
You can't even speak to this shit. We gave you the demand.
Okay.
Listen, go ahead. Somebody else talk.
We're not trying to decide what.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're not trying to decide what is and what isn't healthy for somebody else. Just because you don't like what he sees back here doesn't mean we have to change for him.
Okay. We are also all here as individuals, so there's no collective thought happening from any of our comments necessarily. I also just think that the best solution in this case scenario is to have a conversation. So obviously us telling you all what you're meant to do is not what should happen, and vice versa. Demands aren't going to help us have a conversation because that doesn't feel like it's a two-way conversation in that way. I would like to say that my name's Kendall, first of all, born and raised in Kingston, for generations. I see the changes happening in Kingston. I do not want to see anyone displaced. I've seen it happening the past few years with the gentrification, so on and so forth. I don't want to see that at all. I have no intention of that happening. So I have found that a lot of times in conflict, it is due to miscommunication and a lack of understanding in both directions. So I think that one thing that's being misunderstood in this situation is who has power in this, because we aren't necessarily the co-op. We don't own the co-op. The co-op is owned by 1,237 community members. That's Kingston residents and Ulster County residents. Everyone is engaged in making decisions, and those memberships are open to you all. We want you to be a part of those memberships if you're not already, so that you also are part of making these decisions, which, I mean, you're here already, you're having this conversation already. This is exactly what we want to be doing when making these decisions, because we are simply representatives of the larger community in making this food co-op, which the entire purpose is to make food more accessible for the Kingston community, for all of us. So in terms of coming to an agreement or figuring out what needs to happen in the area with the construction, it is a conversation that we want to have. It's a conversation that needs to happen. And I think that the best way to go forward, I think we need to actually put on the calendar a meeting for all of us that we can actually get together and do this in a more civilized way. It's hard when everybody's yelling over one phone. It's really difficult to have a conversation about it. And I think if it's possible for us to just set up a follow-up meeting and have another conversation so we can continue working on this together, that's the only way forward. If any one of us is trying to take complete control over what's going on here, then we're not going to be able to figure this out. And it's only going to be more conflict. And none of us want that at all. So, and there's no date for construction to start yet. We are only in the pre-design phase. So this is all, we're just having conversations right now. Nothing's set in stone. No decisions have been made.
All right, well, first of all, to sit down and be civil about it. There's nothing civil about it. This is our fucking home. Why should we sit down and have a conversation about this for our home? No one's gonna be fucking civil about that shit.
We want you to have, I mean, you want a part of the conversation, right? We don't want to go and just make decisions on your behalf. We want you to have a say in what happens, but we have to have a conversation.
We made the decision over 20 years ago, as far as I know. People live here. People live here, and they will be staying here. There's nothing to discuss. There's no fucking further discussion need to be talked about. We're telling you we live here. We have been for a long time, and that's it. We're not gonna sit down at a table with people who don't live here and talk about us living here.
I think it'd be better for you all to have a say in what happens there than for you not to. So I think a conversation would be the best.
You're
for
not
everyone.
asking for a say.
There's
You're
nobody
giving her
here
a say.
that's
You're telling her what's
agreeing.
going on.
There's nobody
You're
here
I'm
not-
sorry, I missed it.
There's nobody here that's agreeing to having to move.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Chris, could
Yo.
I like amplify the point that Kendall's making and why it's important to have a conversation too? If Walmart wanted to move into that building and buy it, no one, not even Kingston, will have a say as to what's happening. The best that we're trying to do is give communal ownerance over what happens in their community. So that means something's gonna happen there. We want to make sure whatever happens there is reflective of the whole community while censoring the voices. So the only way forward is to have those conversations, is to get you all at the drawing board, is to get you all to also the other neighbors in Kingston so that we can develop it together.
Okay, well,
Can I
first
jump
of
in
all,
for 1 second? Hey, Chris, can I
Walmart-
jump in for 1 second?
Walmart is not coming in here. Yeah, Tyler.
For those, my name is Tyler. For those of you who I haven't met, there's a word that I keep hearing that I'm being triggered by, and I guess as a bit of a preface, some of you I've seen in the spaces of just playing music. Some of you I haven't seen at all. Some of you I've only seen in movement spaces. I started working in this community. Hold on, baby. Let me say this real quick. I started working in this community in movement spaces, Rise Up Kingston. And before I even knew it, before I had any idea of any sort of tension with Rise Up and anyone else in the community, I was already up here working. And then it was months and months and months of people not even talking, not even acknowledging me because of this organization I work for. So this idea about community, it sounds very ideological for someone that has really put a lot of effort into this so-called community and been met with a lot of red tape. So much so that it's gotten, there's been physical confrontations. So thinking of community, these folks in that bus, this was the first so-called community issue that I really felt strongly about speaking on, because that bus, I watched them put bandages on wounds of people of the community. I watched them make people, I used to walk in the path through that Bubble parking lot before the laundromat was open every day. I lived right behind there when I moved up here. I didn't see anybody back there helping the people of this so-called community until the bus got their bus fixed up and the bus was parked back there. I watched people get supported. Same folks used to feed people over in Academy Green, and I watched them help people too. So I think it's important as we move forward with developing this co-op to be very intentional with how we use this word community, because there are folks in the so-called community that very much feel like outcasts, and I am not at all trying to make myself a victim, but it's hard to sit here and say I feel a part of a community when there have been times when I've attempted to be involved in the so-called community, especially Black folks, people of color in the community, and I have been left on the outside simply because of an affiliation with people. So this idea of individual versus community and organization and all that, I think that's a whole side conversation that's besides the point. Like, there are people out here helping people and putting Band-Aids on wounds, and I've seen it. We're not out here saying that this is a fix for everything, but this idea of community that we're talking, some of it is a lot more insulated than the vision that we think.
Yeah, Tyler, and like, nice to see you again. And just to sort of like share a bit of experience too on sort of my introduction to Kingston for folks who may not know. My first work in Kingston was raising money to create kits for folks experiencing homelessness in the wake of COVID. So I completely vibe with you. I understand exactly what you're saying. As far as how community looks to us, we have open hearts, open minds, and we approach things judgment-free, trying to see the best in everyone in hopes that the best of everyone can be reflected in this store. So any opportunity to collaborate is open and on the table. Any opportunity to be a part of this team is open and on the table. Any opportunity to put your hand into development, as I've expressed with the People's Cauldron also, is always on the table. We shut off no one. We want to hear everyone's voices. We want everyone to feel like they can walk inside of the co-op, see their fingerprint, they can go onto the property and see their fingerprint there. But I completely understand you about the notion of community and how that's been thrown around so much. For us, it's more so, this is happening in Kingston. We look at Kingston as a community, and we especially want the people at the table to be the ones more in tune with marginalized voices. And we are just at the precipice of making sure those voices are in the door. And I also thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story with me.
I'd like to open the floor to anyone who was unable to speak and may have questions, concerns, or comments. You can also send them in the chat if you're not comfortable speaking out loud.
Yeah, and as a reminder, on this topic or any other topic related to the co-op, that's part of the open forum. Yeah.
So it looks like we're close to telling, but I would just before we close out this section, I just want to be sure we have these meetings every month. I love the fact that I'm seeing so many new, I can't say faces, but names in this chat. Please come back next month. Please, if you have any feedback on the format of this meeting, which you began to see, please share that with us. Please be engaged. Please come to events. I hope that we continue to have this conversation. The next steps concerning what happens to the architecture and the People's Cauldron and everything that's there. We will circle back and have a conversation and invite you all to a conversation, or you invite us to a conversation. We can figure out the time to have that conversation with you all on what's happening there. And I just want to be sort of like a reminder, even on the notion of community that Tyler brought up, we are all just community members. All of us have full-time jobs elsewhere, and we are trying to develop the co-op alongside that. Just as everyone else in this chat and everyone experiencing what they're experiencing, we're experiencing things on our end. We have families, we have lives, we have passions, we have all of these things, and we are just community members as you all. So that's the lens through which we're looking at all of this work, and the lens that I hope that we continue to develop this work together with. And as community members, Chris, we just want to be sure that we do not, it's important as we put all of our hearts in this work, that we do not demand things of each other, but come to the table, talk with each other, work with one another so that we build a better tomorrow with all of us at the table. And if that can happen, then that's antithesis to what community is. So thank you all for coming. We will move into our closed session now. If you have any other questions, please email us at council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And again, I would love to see all of these amazing faces and names at the next meeting. And I will be sure to reach out to you all, Chris, and the People's Cauldron on ways that we can have more conversations on this. Thank you, everyone.
But hold on, Kivius, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we end, just want to add, like, so I'm reading the comments and just want to also say that this is a serious issue, right? Houselessness, we hear it, there's a lot of things happening in the co-op realm and just as a general residents or people that live in the area. So we're as individuals here to, I guess I wanted to say everything you just said, Kivius, I agree, but this is a serious topic that could go even beyond the scope of the co-op, and just being real, about that. And yeah, welcome any other combos or whatever to happen afterwards as people in the area.
I just want to say real quick before we go, and I agree with you, Ali. As Chris said, people have been there for years, right? So they're serious. You know what I mean? And I've done work with City Hall trying to get people housed that are in shelters. There's various groups out here trying to do this work. They need help right now. They don't have time for policies and all this stuff. So we really need to get together and figure out what we can do. I don't know the answer. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But we need to figure it out because the winter's coming. They don't have nowhere to go. Right now, we're the people on the property between KMR and Food Co-op. We got to try to set up a time immediately to have a conversation. Communication is everything. Communication is everything. I know people are hot and heated right now, and I get it. I'm not even taking it personal. But we got to have a conversation with them. We got to talk to the mayor. We got to talk to the county. We got to talk to everybody we need to talk to. With all of us here, we have all the relationships in this town. There's no reason these people out there. There's no reason. We got to do something about it because I don't want to see none of them go to jail. And y'all all saw the petition, or y'all all saw the paper from property management. They're gonna get locked up, and I don't want to see that. And we know what's gonna happen. So I'm just asking. Let's try to do something. I'm super busy as everybody else is too, but I will make my time available to try to make this happen. Not try to make something happen. So,
I agree, Frank, and that's sort of like the extremity of the conversation that we really, really, really want to have. What does the future look like, and what does the now look like to get us there? I'm completely agreeing with you. Yeah, I'm happy to have conversations.
So I'll give you a call, Kivius, after. You can send an email to the group. Let's set up a time. I'll talk to Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jimmy Buffer's on here. We'll figure it out. I'm not making no promises, but I'm damn sure go try.
Okay, and I just want to recap on sort of like what we discussed here. And this is, by extension me, that we discussed to one, reach out to Chris and the People's Cauldron. I have not everyone's email who is in here, so I can only communicate what we have, and we'll try our best to sort of like publish the developments as they go. But one is we'll reach out for a conversation to discuss the future of the parking lot and what can we do now in that period to help. That's within our means to do. And then in between then, how can we ensure a safe transition for the individuals there as we gear up for the development of the Kingston Food Co-op. And with the hopes that the programs that we bring to the co-op not take away from their lived experience there right now, but further enhance it. That's our goal there.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. We look forward to further conversations. I definitely hope so. Goodbye. So we are now going to go into our executive session. So everyone can please log off. Thank you for coming.